Welcome. Today, in sequential continuity of the previous step, we are visiting the features of the solid boundary of the creator's space. In the previous session, we have been focusing upon the features of spatial dimensional order of the creator's space. Today, in continuity, we are proceeding ahead as a sequential step ahead of the spatial boundary setup to the solid boundary setup. Spatial dimensional order to solid boundary is going to be the transition, a transitional progress, a sequential progress from the previous phase and stage of our initiation to be parallel with Vedic systems, Vedic mathematics at the base of organization of the text of Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well as of other Vedic scriptures. Hypercube 4 is the representative regular body of real force space in force space. The manifestation of force space body within force space along the format of idol of Lord Brahma, creator the supreme, the presiding deity of force space, is the glaring feature. One initiates oneself upon this fundamental feature as that force space body manifests within force space itself along the format of the idol of Lord Brahma, creator the supreme, the presiding deity of the force space. Hypercube 4 is of a solid boundary. Force space content manifesting as force space domain is enveloped by a solid boundary of 8 components. It would be blissful to be parallel with the enlightenment of Yoga Vasishtha. Yoga Vasishtha Puran is the enlightenment bestowed by Brahmrishi Vasishtha as a guru upon Lord Rama, incarnation of Lord Vishnu of Treta Yuga. The enlightenment preserved is that within Shila slab is the home of Lord Brahma and of Vidyadhari. The origin of 3 space is 4 space. Every 3 space body is having origin fold as in the role of a 4 space. Yoga Vasishtha specifically preserves the enlightenment as that this manifestation of Lord Brahma is as localized Brahma. The localized Brahma and universal Brahma are 2 distinct conceptual terms. These 2 are distinct concepts. These 2 are of different roles of real force space. These 2 are 2 distinct depictions of manifestation of force space content. Force space content has its many roles, and one of the prominent role of force space content is as origin of 3 space. The origin fold of 3 space is force space content at 0 value state at the seat of center of solids. At seat of center of solid, Shila slab is the seat of force space. This seat is the home of Lord Brahma. It would be very blissful to be through this episode, this depiction, this preservation of a Yoga Vashist, as it brings us realistically very near the reality of existence and role of real force space. The center of a cube, the center of a solid, the origin fold of three space body is four space. Four space content manifests and it in its zero state plays the role of origin in zero state. Center of the cube as such becomes of a dual role. Center as a point of three space domain cube volume and center as a point of four space are two distinct features which deserve to be comprehended well. Slab, solid, cube splits into 8 octants, bodies, 8 subcubes, and the four space content as such is enveloped within 8 subcubes, 8 solids, 8 solid bodies of the format of 8 octants split of a 3 space. Today, we are focusing upon the features of the solid boundary of 4 space. We are concentrating upon the solid boundary of 8 components of hypercube 4. The domain boundary ratio of hypercube 4 is a raised to power 4 is to 8 b raised to power 3. The solid boundary of hypercube 4 is of 8 components. This is parallel with the feature of idol of Lord Brahma having a lotus seed of 8 petals. It is in this background we can have a comprehension ahead. When a solid boundary component takes off, strips off, removes, disappears from its seat at the boundary of hypercube 4, it creates a cosmic window. Each of the 8 solid boundary components as such create respective 8 cosmic windows. The solid boundary component with its takeoff from the boundary of hypercube 4 dimensionalizes the outer space. The solid boundary component with its strip off from the boundary of hypercube 4 goes within the outer space. Solid boundary component within outer space, the space outside 4 space. It is 5 space. It is a solid order space. Therefore, the solid boundary component, when takes off from the boundary of hypercube 4, the same goes into solid order space. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with the mental state of an individual who has gone out of the domain fold of hypercube 4. 4 space room. When one is out of the 4 space room, one is out of hypercube 4 domain, one is in the outer space, the space outside 4 space. One is within 5 space. And the mental state, because of the restrictions of 4 space, get dissolved, melt away, and one realizes blissfully, oh, the universe is five space, universe is not four space, as was the condition of the individual when was one within four space domain. It is a very blissful exercise. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to melt away the conditioning because of the four space. One shall be parallel with the takeoff of a solid boundary component from the boundary of four space and be parallel with the phenomenon of dimensionalization of the outer space as a five space, as a solid order space. This way, there will be as many as 8 cosmic windows. Let us visit the dimensional synthesis values table. The dimensional synthesis values in respect of the solid dimensions, 0 in number, 1 in number, are as many as 8 solid dimensions. The table on the computer screen as row 1 is indicating the number of solid dimensions, and row 2 depicts, tabulates the value of the respective solid dimension. 0 number of solid dimensions gives value 0. Single solid dimension leads to value 3. The pair of solid dimensions lead to value 5. Triple solid dimensions yield value 6. Quadruple solid values as well yield value 6. And values for 5, 6, 7, and 8 solid dimensions give us a very beautiful organization feature. And this organization feature is that 7 solid dimensions synthesis values comes to be 0 equal to the value of 0 number of solid dimensions. This is a very, very blissful feature. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. It is only in terms of this feature we will be face to face with as to the limitations of the solid dimensions, as to the limitation of 3 space. 3 space itself is a linear order space, and this linear order up till its 7th step as is depicted makes a parabolic figurative path. However, when we proceed ahead and we glimpse the synthesis value of as many as 8 solid dimension, the value comes to be -4. Blissful, beautiful, excellent, marvelous. It is this beautiful feature which deserves to be comprehended well. It is an answer as to why the linear order, the hypercircles, increase only up till hypercircle 7, and from hypercircle 8 onwards, they go on decreasing. This is as from the 8th solid dimension, the synthesis value starts decreasing. The dimensional synthesis value of 0 to 7 number of dimensions comes to be of parabolic format 0, 3, 5, 6, 6, 5, 3, 0. However, the 8th solid dimension takes us to value -4. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to fully glimpse and to completely imbibe this feature. It is with this imbibing one will be acquiring proper insight and appropriate enlightenment about the distinguishing features of three space mathematics, sciences, and technologies from that of four space mathematics, sciences, and technology. It is here where we will be face to face with as to where the setup of solid boundary is taking us to, up till which point, what is the limitation, up till which it will take us to the positive values, and how from eighth solid dimension, eighth solid boundary component as a dimension will be yielding us to value -4. It is -4. We are initially within four space, positive four space, and reach at the eighth step is to -4. One may have a pause here and take note that four space is a spatial order space. Two space plays the role of dimension of four space. Two space body surface is of a pair of faces, and further within four space, it is not only the addition and multiplication which get superimposed, but even the orientations as well get superimposed, as 2 plus 2 is equal to 2 multiplied by 2 is equal to -2 multiplied by -2. Still further, the dimension of four space, that is the zero space, is also having parallel similar triple values, as 0 plus 0 is equal to 0 multiplied by 0 is equal to -0 multiplied by -0. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these distinguishing features. One shall revisit Devanagari alphabet. One shall compile, tabulate all those letters which accept TC value 3. It is the third vowel U which is having TC value 3. It is the third letter of the first row of Varga consonant Ga, which has TC value 3. Like that, the second letter of the second row and first letter of the third row as well are of TC value 3 each. The second Anthasta letter and second Ushmana letter as well are of TC value 3. These 6 letters of Devanagari alphabet are of TC value 3, and as such parallel, they are of 3 space format. 3 space as vowel is a dimensional frame. 3 space as third letter of first Varga is a 3 space domain. 3 space as second letter of second row is a 3 space as a boundary. 3 space as first letter of the third row is a 3 space as dimension. Like that, the Anthasta letter and Ushmana letter as well take us to the end enveloping value and the end transcendental value. With this, we will be in a position to have a glimpse as to the different roles being played by 3 space. 3 space as origin, 3 space as domain, 3 space as boundary, and 3 space as dimension are 4 prominent, distinct roles of each dimensional space. So in respect of 3 space, we can visualize as that 3 space is the origin of hypercube 2, 3 space is domain fold of hypercube 3, 3 space is boundary fold of hypercube 4, and 3 space is dimension fold of hypercube 5. Sadhakas fulfilled with the intensity of urge to be parallel with Vedic systems, and particularly to parallel with the role of the solid boundary of the creator space, shall visit and revisit these quadruple distinct roles of 3 space as origin, 3 spaces domain, 3 spaces boundary, and 3 spaces an origin. In this background, one shall further have a revisit to the setup of hypercube 3 as fourfold manifestation within creator's space. 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple values are the values of the quadruple folds of hypercube 3. The summation value is 10 and it is parallel to 10 directional frame, and further it is parallel to the creative boundary of the transcendental domain of solid order as well being of 10 components. It will be very, very blissful as that the Shila, slab, Shila as word formulation leads us to its 10 folds as is tabulated on the computer screen. In the first row are just the serial numbers of the folds. In the second row are the values of these 10 folds of TC value of formulation Shila. And in the third row, there is a summation value of these folds of TC values, and summation value comes to be 529, which is equal to 519 plus 10. 519 is the value of the total letters of Ganita Sutras and Sutras, while value 10 is the 10 directional frame feature. The formulation Shila is a basic 10 directional application format of the Ganita Sutras. Vedic mathematical domain of 16 sutras and 13 sutras is equally uniformly applicable along all the 10 directions. So it is exhaustive of the creative boundary lead. Sadhkas fulfilled with the intensity of words shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with these features. These features will bring us face to face with 7 versions of hypercube 3. Further, it will bring us face to face with 7 streams flow from orb of the sun as a seat of 7 space. This will further take us to 7 meters of colors parallel with 7 colors of rainbow. Outer space fulfilled with cubes of rainbow colors is the spectral reality of the solid boundary strips fully formatting the outer space. Solid boundary format for light within rays of the sun is the ultimate observational reality. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with the existence phenomenon of our space as fifth element, as 5-dimensional space. 5-dimensional space is fulfilled with light from orb of the sun, as rainbow, as 7 colors, as 7 streams, as 7 versions of cube, as cube fulfilled with light, sama, so it is set up of light cubes. Therefore, one may sum up as that the sequential initiation step ahead of the values and features of potentialities of boundary is about the features of solid boundary of the created space. The creation of cosmic windows 1 to 8, the take-up of the boundary components 1 to 8, and structuring of the outer space parallel to synthesis values of solid dimensions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the end reach value -4 deserves to be comprehended well as to how the creator's space is a self-sustained space within which the manifestations absorb reversal of orientations. One shall sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to continuously remain in prolonged sitting of trance, to fully absorb the unique feature of solid boundary of creator space. It will further be blissful to glimpse and imbibe as to how the outer space of creator space is fulfilled with the light cubes of 7 colors visible to human eye. And it is this colorful spectrum which provides ambrosia of our existence phenomenon within human frame as a visible reality and as a real conditioned state for our existence phenomenon. Thank you very much.